What if you could read minds, control thoughts, or manipulate behaviors? Welcome to the world of dark psychology. This intriguing realm is not one of superpowers, but rather a darker side of the human psyche. Dark psychology involves the deliberate manipulation of people's thoughts and behaviors, often used for personal gain. It's a strategy that can be as subtle as a whispered suggestion or as blatant as a brazen lie. It's the puppeteer pulling the strings, the chess player moving the pieces, the shadow lurking in the corners of your mind. While it may sound fascinating, it's important to remember that this is a harmful practice with serious implications. People who wield dark psychology often leave a trail of emotional wreckage in their wake, using others as stepping stones to their own success. Manipulation is the key tool in dark psychology, and it's more common than you might think. Ever found yourself agreeing to something you didn't want to do? That's the power of persuasion. Persuasion, in its simplest form, is the act of convincing someone to change their mind, beliefs, or behavior. It's something we all engage in, whether we're trying to get a friend to check out the latest binge-worthy series or convincing our boss for a raise. But what happens when persuasion takes a darker turn? Consider this. You walk into a store with a fixed budget, intending to buy one specific item. A smooth-talking salesperson approaches you, and before you know it, you're walking out with 3 additional items, having exceeded your budget. This is a classic example of persuasion, where the salesperson has influenced you to act against your best interest. In a more sinister scenario, a manipulator may use persuasion to coerce someone into a harmful situation. They might employ tactics such as gaslighting, where they manipulate someone into questioning their own reality, or the foot-in-the-door technique, where they start with a small request only to follow it up with larger, more significant demands. And let's not forget the infamous fear, uncertainty, and doubt strategy, often used in politics and marketing, where the persuader instills fear and uncertainty in the minds of the audience to sway their decisions. Now, this brings us to the ethical dilemma surrounding persuasion. Is it fair to use persuasion to influence others, especially when it leads them to act against their best interests? The answer isn't straightforward. Persuasion itself isn't bad. It's a tool, and like any tool, its impact depends on the hands that wield it. In the hands of a manipulator, persuasion can become a weapon, used to exploit and control others. It's crucial to recognize this and understand the tactics manipulators use so we can protect ourselves and our loved ones from falling victim to their tricks. Persuasion isn't inherently negative, but in the hands of a manipulator, it can be a dangerous weapon. Let's take a trip back to 1971 to a basement at Stanford University. Here, a psychological experiment of epic proportions took place. An experiment that would forever change our understanding of manipulation and power dynamics, the infamous Stanford Prison Experiment. Psychologist Philip Zimbardo was at the helm of this infamous experiment. He wanted to investigate how readily people would conform to the roles of guard and prisoner in a role-playing exercise. The participants? 24 male students, randomly assigned to play the role of either a prison guard or a prisoner. Almost immediately, the guards began to exploit their newfound authority. They subjected the prisoners to psychological torture, including humiliation and isolation. The prisoners, on the other hand, passively accepted this abusive behavior, further reinforcing the guards' dominance. The experiment was supposed to last for 2 weeks, but it was abruptly halted after just 6 days. Why? The guards had become sadistic, and the prisoners showed signs of extreme stress and emotional trauma. The lines between reality and role-play blurred, and the participants had fully adopted their roles. What we see in this experiment is a chilling example of manipulation and the power of authority. The guards, once regular students, started to exhibit abusive behaviors simply because they were placed in a position of power. The prisoners, on the other hand, accepted their lower status and allowed the abuse to happen. This shows us how power dynamics can influence our behavior. When given authority, people can exploit it and even become abusive. On the flip side, those on the receiving end can become passive and compliant, accepting their fate without question. The Stanford Prison Experiment is a stark reminder of how easily people can be manipulated, especially within a structured system of power. It provides a dark yet enlightening insight into the human condition, showing how our roles and the expectations attached to them can drastically alter our behavior. This experiment exposed the chilling effects of manipulation and power dynamics, shedding light on how easily people can be influenced. It remains an influential study in the field of psychology, reminding us to always question authority and to be aware of the power dynamics at play in our everyday lives. Another notorious study in manipulation is the Milgram experiment. Conducted by psychologist Stanley Milgram, this experiment delved deeply into the intricacies of human obedience to authority and the extent to which individuals would go under the influence of an authority figure. The setup was simple. Participants were led to believe they were part of a study on learning and memory. They were assigned the role of a teacher and were instructed to administer electric shocks to a learner every time they answered a question incorrectly. The catch was, the learner was actually an actor, and no real shocks were given. As the experiment progressed, the intensity of the supposed shocks increased. Despite the learner's feigned cries of pain and pleas for the experiment to stop, the participants were encouraged by the experimenter, the authority figure, to continue. Surprisingly, or perhaps disturbingly, a significant number of participants complied, administering what they believed to be dangerous, even potentially lethal shocks. The Milgram experiment showcased the alarming degree to which individuals can be manipulated by authority. It revealed how people were willing to ignore their own moral compass if directed by someone they perceived as an authority figure. This study serves as a stark reminder of the power that authority figures can wield, and the susceptibility of individuals to manipulation under the guise of obedience. It's important to note that while the Milgram experiment may seem extreme, it underscores the subtler ways in which people can be manipulated in everyday life. Authority figures are not limited to those in positions of obvious power, like police officers or bosses. They can also be charismatic individuals who command respect and attention, making their manipulative tactics even more insidious. The Milgram experiment is a testament to the fact that manipulation can be a powerful tool when used by those in authority. It's a chilling reminder that we need to be vigilant about who we allow to influence our actions and decisions. As we delve deeper into the world of dark psychology, let's remember the lessons from this experiment and strive to protect ourselves from the manipulative tactics of those around us. Milgram's experiment demonstrated that authority can be a powerful tool for manipulation. So how can you resist manipulation? It's a critical question, isn't it? And the answer isn't as elusive as one might think. To resist manipulation, you don't need to be a psychology expert or a mind reader. You just need to be aware, informed, and assertive. Let's start with being aware of your emotions. Manipulators often play on your feelings, trying to elicit reactions that serve their purposes. If you suddenly feel an intense emotion, be it anger, fear, or even overwhelming joy, stop and ask yourself why. What triggered it? Was it a particular statement or action? Is someone trying to provoke this reaction? By being mindful of your emotions, you can prevent others from using them against you. Next, question authority. Remember the Milgram and Stanford prison experiments? They showed us that people often follow orders without questioning, even if they go against their moral compass. Don't be afraid to question authority. It's not about being rebellious, but about ensuring that you're not being led down a path you don't want to tread. Seeking second opinions is another effective way to resist manipulation. If someone is trying to convince you of something, get another perspective. Talk to someone you trust about the situation. They might see things that you don't, or they might validate your concerns. Either way, you'll have a more rounded understanding of the situation. Critical thinking is your best defense against manipulation. Don't just accept information at face value. Analyze it, scrutinize it, and draw your own conclusions. Remember, manipulators thrive on ignorance and complacency. Don't give them that advantage. Lastly, be assertive. Stand up for yourself and your beliefs. If something doesn't feel right, say it. If someone is pushing you too hard, push back. Your voice matters. Your feelings matter. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Remember, knowledge is power. Being aware of these techniques can help you resist manipulation. You're not helpless. You're not a puppet. You're a thinking, feeling human being with the power to resist manipulation. Dark psychology is a fascinating, albeit unsettling field of study. It exposes the darker side of human nature, revealing how manipulation techniques can be used to control and influence others. We've delved into the power of persuasion, exploring how it can be wielded for both good and ill. We've studied the infamous Stanford Prison and Milgram experiments, both glaring examples of the extent to which individuals can be manipulated under certain circumstances. We've shed light on the chilling reality of how easily people can succumb to authority or group pressure. But it's not all doom and gloom. We've also discussed resistance techniques, tools that each one of us can use to stand our ground against manipulation. Knowledge is power, and by understanding these techniques, we can better arm ourselves against the darker aspects of psychological influence. Stay aware, stay assertive, and remember, you have the power to resist manipulation. Thanks for watching.